It has come to my attention that somehow I have failed to never tell the story of the time that a co-pastor of a church I used to go to tried to do bad magic on me. Is it do bad magic or put bad magic? I don't know. Either way, it went wrong and reversed. So don't try this at home. Everything in this story is 100% true. There are a couple disclaimers up front. Number one, I will never tell you, nor will I ever confirm the name of the church. However, most people that know me personally know that I went to Total Grace Christian Center in Decatur, Georgia for the majority of the time that I lived in Atlanta. It is not Total Grace. I love them people. They would never try to put magic on me that I know of. I'm pretty sure that would never happen. So yeah, not there. Somewhere else. I will never ever say though, because that's not cool. It also was not cool to try to put bad magic on me, but I'm just not in the mood to be messy today. I just want to tell this story. Okay, so I moved to Atlanta when I was like 22, 23 years old. I was a young babe in Christ. I wasn't a young babe in Christ. I was a grown woman in Christ, but I was a young person. It's important that I wasn't a baby in Christ because that is a part of the moral of this story, so pay attention. So I moved to Atlanta when I was really, really young. It was my early 20s, and I started going to this church that wasn't far away from the hood that I was living in at the time. I was accidentally living in the hood. I didn't mean to be living in the hood, but I found these apartments on the internet, and I had a 6-month lease. I had to live in the hood for a little while. Not the rap hood, the real hood. So I started going to this church, and very soon, I wasn't working at the time, because I do that, I guess. I just be stepping out on faith and moving place. But I wanted to live in Atlanta because I had a little boo thing at the time, and I moved to Atlanta to be with him. Just way too much energy for the nature of this story. So I moved to Atlanta, and I started going to this church. I started volunteering in the office of the bishop. But I was working directly with his executive administrative assistant. And so at the time, he was working on a book, and they asked me if I would proofread it. Now, this is the beginning, actually, of my publishing career, because I wasn't doing proofing at the time. It just was, they randomly asked me. I know a little bit thing about reading and grammar, so yeah, I did. Well, when I proofread the book, it really needed to be edited. It needed to be edited. I can't talk. It required some editing. So I asked if I could make some suggestions, and I was given permission to do so, and I basically ended up editing that book. So when the bishop got the edits back, he came to find out who tore his book asunder. That's when he found out that I tore his book asunder. So I ended up editing a couple other of his books as a result of having no cares to give about your pride. My nigga, this book needs editing. That's really the beginning of my editing career. Shout out to that church experience for that and nothing else. Okay, so literally important things that you need to know about the story. I literally in my entire life have never been by myself with this bishop. Ever, never, ever. Not with a door closed, not with a nothing. Never, ever. Every single exchange that I ever had with this bishop was through the executive administrator, whatever her title was. So here comes the drama. It was a Friday, and I get a phone call from a number that I don't know. Remember, I'm all of like 7 years old. I was like 22 or 23, but basically I was a baby. So I get a phone call from his wife, who happens to be the co-pastor of the church. She's like, Ebony, I'm just calling because I wanted to talk to you about your relationship with Bishop. What relationship with Bishop? I don't have a relationship with Bishop. But I don't say that. I'm like still young, and this is the co-pastor. This is my co-pastor, and this is the co-pastor of a really large church. So all I have is like this kind of immature reverence. Read also fear of her a little bit. So she's like, I wanted to talk to you about your relationship with Bishop, and you know, I think that it's kind of inappropriate. You don't want me to edit his books? You don't want your husband to not sound like an idiot in his books? Does this really constitute as a relationship when I literally have never been by myself with your husband? Ever? So I just let her talk, and I'm just like, what is happening here? She's like, you know, you're basically the age of my daughters. I think it's inappropriate. You know, Bishop and I have discussed you. Let me tell you something really quick. I have no understanding for why a woman would tell somebody that they have discussed them with their man. Ever. Never would ever do that. This is a side note, but I remember this one time I had to talk to this girl about something that had nothing at all to do with my man. But when I approached her, she was like thinking that I was about to bring up my man because her and my man used to be really, really close before I ever entered the picture. Like, I didn't even know them at all when I entered the picture. Like, apparently they used to be friends. I don't know if they ever dated, hung out, whatever. So she's looking all nervous. She's like, I didn't want to beef with you about, we'll call him Jeremy, mostly because that's his name. I said, girl, Jeremy and I have never discussed you. Now, for your information, Jeremy and I had a full-blown conversation about this young lady, but never gonna tell her that we had discussed her. Ma'am, you are not a factor in my relationship. I don't let you think that you are, because you're not. And if you are, you still not. Back to the story. So yeah, she said, Bishop and I have discussed you. I let her finish talking, and then I'm like, well, I don't really know what you're talking about, but you can check the records. I've literally never, ever in my life been by myself with your husband, ever. So I don't have any clue what you're talking about. This is a problem for young, attractive, I'm gonna call myself attractive because, whatever. But for young, attractive, single people, we get a bad rep in church sometimes. Every single person that is mildly attractive and just, for the most part, probably just minding their business, don't want your man. I wish I would have had all that energy on that phone call. I was just blown away that this phone call was happening, so I wasn't cutting up like, I changed my clothes before I added this part, but I need to add this part. I wish that I could go back to that time and be like, girl, I got a man and he fine and he gives me good D on the regular. Don't nobody but you want your ugly husband. Nobody! I wish that was the story. Really, I wish I would have said that. What if I would have said that to the co-pastor of my church? I certainly wasn't this free yet. I wish I could transport myself back via the Marty McFly. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now. Like a time-space continuum could send me back so I could tell her, ma'am, cut it out. I can't, so here we are. So yeah, I'm just confused for the most part. And as I'm trying to talk, she interrupts me and said, Ebony, I know a rat when I smell one. Ma'am, your sinuses have led you astray. Neither am I a rat, nor are you currently smelling one. I was so blown away that I just literally shut down for the rest of the conversation. I feel emotional again just remembering this story. So we kind of leave it at she know a rat when she smell one. I tell her that I really am just confused about where this is coming from, where she's getting this from. I've not had that kind of interaction at all with your husband, period, zero. And that's that. Here's where the bad magic comes in. And I know that it was some kind of spiritual, conjuring or something, because I know her family background and, confirmation of that from close family members. And I know that the next events didn't happen for nothing. I am so exhausted that I end up taking a nap. If you knew me back then you would know that I do not believe in adult naps. So the fact that I'm taking a nap in the middle of the day is just insane. Like, my body literally shut down. Like, I was exhausted. So I get a phone call from a girlfriend and she needs me to pick her up and take her home. So I'm on the highway, literally not even completely off of my exit yet to go pick her up, when I end up getting in a terrible accident. This car smashes into the back of me and it's just unexplainable because, ma'am, I'm a whole car. What are you doing? Why are you driving, and why are you driving so fast? What has happened? So that happens. I end up that's on Friday night. I did go to the hospital the next day. Yeah, that happened. So that's Friday. Saturday passes. Sunday, I go to church. Because I'm young and I don't get that, this ain't your church no more. Don't go to this church. If the co-pastor would call you and tell you she know a rat when she smell one, and you ain't the rat to be smelling, don't go back to this place. But I'm a young babe in Christ, so I go back. Only to find out that between first service and second service, the pastor and the co-pastor are driving in their Bentley to the other location and get into a nearly fatal accident. So fatal that he ended up having to walk with a cane for months afterwards, and she broke a bone in her spine. I'll come back to that in a moment. So basically, I stopped going to that church after that because that really just hit me. There was something, something happened here. You tried to do something to me and it reversed on you and was worse for you. So probably about 3 months later, I am babysitting this little boy, and his mom goes to the church still, and she needs to go to the church for something. So she picks me and him up, and we stop at the church for whatever it is that she needs to go to church for. Just so happen, none of the women are there. The women are at some kind of event at headquarters, and we're at South Location, so CoPastor is not there. So when I walk in the door, I'm sitting like in the back of the church. As soon as I walk in, the bishop is like stops teaching Bible study and is like, "Hey, Ebony, we've missed you. Don't talk to me. Don't be saying my name. Don't say my name out loud. Is this being recorded? Somebody can erase that, please. Don't say my name. I ain't you." So I just kind of like, and just stay in the back, just trying to like be out the way. I'm just here to wait for her, and we gonna get out of her. By her, I mean here. We gonna get out of here. So after church, I'm trying to walk out the door, and he's standing at the door to greet everybody, and he goes to hug me, and I give him like fake church hug, and I'm like, "Hey, Bishop, you know, it's good to see you, whatever. And he's like, "What's going on? Where you been?" So I look at him like, "Sir, you don't know where I've been." His armor bearer is standing right there, and I say, "Can I talk to you with him privately?" So me, the bishop, and his armor bearer go over to the side to talk. Notice I take that armor bearer with me because I don't want nobody reporting back to CoPastor that I was talking to her man secretively, because I've never been by myself with your man. So I say, "Bishop, you don't know why I haven't been at church for like 3 months?" "No, what's going on, Eb?" First of all, we ain't that cool for you to be calling me Eb, but okay. So I say, "Your wife," I say her name, I don't say your wife. I say, "Your wife called me on," and I say the date of my accident, which was December 6th. December 7, 2006. Immediately, his eyes, which are very big, get even bigger. Because he knows, and I know, that that date is too close to the date of his near-fatal accident for it to be a coincidence. I say, "Yeah, your wife," I say her name, "calls me on this date and basically tells me she know a rat when she smell one, and basically to stay away from her man." You being her man, I thought I'd stay away from you. He says, "My wife called you on December 7th. "Yes, sir." "My wife called you on December 7th then?" "Yes, sir." "My wife called you 2 days before our accident?" "We are on the same page, sir." "Yes." "I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. I don't understand. I am so sorry. I won't be back to your church ever again. I'm only here today by accident, but grace to all of you." I didn't say grace to all of you. I didn't get grace to you until I started going to my next church, but basically grace to y'all niggas. Bye. I know she tried to put bad magic on me, and it reversed because I just don't believe in coincidence. It's just not a thing that I do. Every single thing in heaven and earth is telling of God's glory. Every single thing in heaven and earth and in all of this universe is operating under some kind of higher authority, power, spirit, whatever. You called me, called yourself checking me, and then tried to conjure up a brew to get rid of me. Yeah, I had some aches and pains from that little accident. But my nigga, really? The point of this story, the reason why I said earlier that I wasn't a babe in Christ, is because if I was a baby in my faith, I would have not gone back to church again ever after that. As a matter of fact, even though I wasn't a baby in my faith, I was so hurt that I stopped going to church for probably about 9 months. Well, not really. I started going to this white church in McDonough, Georgia called Avalon. Shout out to Pastor Richie, I think his name was, because the church was just so cool that it really gave me time to heal. It's important that it was white church also, because white church can often be very different from black church. It's just less preachy sometimes. That's not where I'm going. Let me stop there. That's a video for another day. White church is different from black church in that it was not, I wasn't about to get caught up in the clickiness that can often happen in black church, because we just want to love God. Hallelujah. God, you're beautiful. Thank you, pretty God. Thank you, beautiful God. That's ignorant. Yeah, it's just different, and it was definitely a place to heal. And that experience made it possible for me to even end up at Total Grace, 8 or 9 months later. And that is the place where I really healed, became whole, grew up, and like really grew up in my faith at Total Grace Christian Center. Shout out to Bishop Jonathan Alvarado and CoPastor Antoinette Alvarado. Even though I got my heartbroken by the bass player at that church. I promised I wasn't going to be shady or petty in this video, but here I am. Listen, don't be trying to do magic, bad magic on people. That's not good. That's not cool. Stop texting me. No is the answer to that text. And that's the end of my story. Tell me in the comments section below, have you ever had a bad magic experience? I hope you haven't, but I'd love to hear it in the comment section below. Also, shout out to me looking like I'm on my way to conjure something up. I'm not. I ain't conjuring nothing but these.